Hello and welcome to the eMTB show, Season 2, Episode 5. I am broadcasting live from the island of Jersey. Well, it's not really live. Well, it is, but
when you're doing
you won't watch it. I am James, and joining me in his studio is Gary. Gary, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Friday evening, another week over.
It is. It's a joyous time. And it's staying a bit lighter, which is good.
It is, although...
It's pitch black now.
It's dark now. What are we going to discuss this week?
Well, I can definitely start with one. And for those who are watching us over the YouTubes, there's an obvious merch thing happening.
Is there?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's noticed.
I think I've seen 3 things already.
Really?
And one of them isn't actually merch. There's one.
Okay.
So we can talk about new merch.
That helps the podcast listeners a great deal, by the way.
What, hearing you drink from a insulated, branded
vessel
container. Upgrades, not mine this time. Yours.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk about how that went. The result of the very exciting Twitter poll.
Yeah, you like a Twitter poll. That's fine.
And a discussion around 2021 eMTBs. Please can we talk about merch first, because this eMTB show beanie is making me about to want to pass out with heat exhaustion.
Would you say it's got very high thermal properties?
It does have very high thermal properties.
Well, it's perfect for as the spring arrives.
My next door neighbour thinks that I've got a burglar that's sitting with a pair of headphones.
Yeah. There's either that or there's a DJ just moved in. One or the other.
Yeah, rubbish DJ. So, branded beanie available.
Yeah, branded beanie, branded baseball cap. I don't know what. Hopefully, people like them. I think what we might do in the first instance, is come up with a giveaway, and then we'll make them available later on. I think this time of year, beanies are probably going to be getting put away for the summer.
That sounds like a good idea.
But the baseball caps will be around for a while.
Yeah, baseball caps are cool. I would have worn mine, except I left it in the car.
Well, at least you were able to model the other option.
Yep, exactly. All good merch for the channel. And I can't get my headphones to sit properly, so this will be interesting.
So I think maybe for the first round of this, we might come up with a giveaway on one or the other, and then we'll see where it goes from there. See what the interest is.
Sounds like a good plan.
Definitely.
So, straight on to upgrades. In the previous episode, you were talking about things that you were going to do. I think it was all to do with rear mech.
Yeah, rear mech replacement, new chain, complete strip down rebuild of the rear derailleur. Strip down and clean and rebuild of the front crank and chainring, which all turned into a bit of a farce, to be honest, because I couldn't get one of the pedals off, even though when I put my new pedals on, I purposefully greased the living daylights out of them so that they wouldn't seize. Unfortunately, one is still seized, which is really annoying. And I kind of needed to get that off to get the chain ring off. But I ended up having to just clean it in situ. I removed it from its arms, brought it down onto the crank socket around it, and I stripped all the muck off it, cleaned it all up. It was that caked on. This is my concern with using the wrong greases on your chain and stuff. It turns it into like a cement. So the mud that had got under the chain had just become rock solid, and I had to use a wire brush and a drill to get it off, which is quite intense, really.
A drill?
Yeah, hammer drill.
Okay.
No, it's just a normal drill, and it took a lot of work, but it got it back to new basically. All the bolts, you've got to put them back on with thread lock, obviously, otherwise they're all going to come loose. And I can't imagine what it's like to lose a crank arm as you're pedalling along. Not that that's happened before much.
I was about to say, I think I remember that.
Yeah. I've got the rear derailleur stripped down. Same thing again, just even though I cleaned it recently, all the cogs were just completely cemented up with the stuff. All the bearings inside were completely cemented up. So I stripped those down, repacked them, put them all back together. Again, thread lock, knowing that derailleurs do fall apart, don't they, James?
Yeah.
So
I got mine. I did mine change quite quickly though. It was effortless for me.
Yeah, just financially difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, that got all stripped down and rebuilt. While I had everything off the back of the bike, I basically almost dropped the motor in it to just clean all the muck out the back of there. Because even though there's I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically a foam bridge that goes between the trailing arm and the main frame of the bike to stop the mud trapping. It was like an add-on after the early production bikes. There is still loads and loads of mud stuck inside.
Yeah.
So I spent a good few hours with lots of aerosol brake cleaner, just getting all the dirt out. Hopefully it still works. And then the rear derailleur, which was the rear mech, which was all cleaned up and put back together. And then I did the cassette, which was like the simplest job on the planet, to be honest. It was so easy to do.
With the right tools.
With the right tools. The one thing that was interesting, and I'm not waving the flag for blue tools.
Oh, hang on, let me just get comfortable. Go on.
I didn't realise how many I had. I've got a collection of chain splitters from years gone by, and the most recent purchase off the Amazons was the worst one going. And I don't know if it was because my chain was so knackered, but splitting the chain destroyed the chain splitting tool completely. Just all the teeth were bent over. So I ended up using 3 different ones to get the job done, which was a bit annoying. But it came apart okay at the end. So yeah, and then new chain went on, straightforward. I didn't even have to adjust the link. I was expecting to have to remove links or do something, but didn't have to do any of that. All went on fine.
I could highly recommend the CT 3.2, which is the 3rd generation, 2nd revision chain tool from Park Tool.
Can you explain the differences in the generations and why the revisions actually exist?
Yes, one was they slightly rubberised the handle on the 0.2 revision.
Is that for more of a purchase?
People were getting welts. I think just off the top of my head, the CT-3.2 is a professional shop quality chain tool that works with 1/8 or 3/16 inch single speed chains and 5 to 12 speed derailleur chains. Just off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah, that's very. I'm glad you're retaining this sort of information.
It's got an adjustable locating shelf.
That's where I was going wrong. I didn't have one of those.
Do you know what? It was amusing though, because I don't know whether you guessed there, but I actually did have the Park Tool website up. It says "built to last," right? Do you know one of the things that annoys me is when people say these things, like they're not ever going to say, "You'd be lucky if you can get a single use out of this," are they? They're never going to sell anything. It's like when you go past a shop or something, or a restaurant, and they're like, new, fantastic fish and chips, or they're not going to say stale, week old fish and chips. Just not going to get anyone through the door. So why say anything? Yeah. Anyway, rant over.
Yeah, there is definitely. I'm not going to be doing that every 5 minutes, so I'm not too bothered. There are obviously some areas where high-end, high-quality tools are going to make a lot of difference.
Is there anything in what you undertook that you wish you hadn't started?
No, not really.
Or that now you've done it, you've got a bit more confidence?
I just wish I'd done it sooner. The only thing that I haven't done, and I went down a rabbit hole on it, was when I bought the chain, I bought 2 just so I had a spare, so I don't have to. If I'd made a mess of it, I had a spare one. But they are really heavily packed in grease when you get them out the packaging, and I didn't clean that off. I thought I'll put it on the bike and then I'll use a chain cleaner to do a proper clean on it. I haven't done that yet, but I have noticed there's not a lot of movement in the actual chain because it's so heavily packed in grease. I'm kind of wondering, should I have just done this bathing them in a fluid first before I did it, but we'll see how it goes with the chain clean. Chain clean tool should do it. And then it's putting one grease on and not every other type of grease going and making sure I stick to the one. But apart from that, it's all right.
I have got the CM25 professional chain scrubber. That is
just like a wire brush.
It is very good. No, it's got like a magnet in that collects all the bits. In fact, we've used it. It is good.
I've got the muck off equivalent.
Which looks like it was actually made by the same people in the same factory.
Yeah. Or the muck off one, bless you, muck off. You do make some cool stuff. The chain cleaner looks like a Barbie accessory because it's in like a luminous pink.
And how many of those have you bought?
Just the
one. And actually, we did have a conversation about when is the right time to change from wet lube to dry lube.
Yeah. And it seems from research and general browsing, not for a while yet, which is quite surprising. I would have thought basically from what I was reading, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like you've got to wait until it's proper dry and hot and dusty before you start doing anything like that. And to do that properly, you completely clean your chain, get everything out of it, get it completely, through a chain cleaner, through a load of degreaser, everything off it before you put new lube on it, which is interesting.
Is it that different?
Yeah, well, this is the thing I've said before on it. How different are these things? I'm not convinced, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm giving him a benefit of the doubt at the moment. So,
was there anything that you were going to upgrade that you didn't end up upgrading?
I haven't done the any new valves on my wheels because the cores are shot. Yeah. So one of them, luckily, tubeless fluid is very good at sealing faulty threads. But if I ever loosen my valve to put more air in, it all starts to come apart. So I need to do that. That, and I've got the tape. I've got everything I need to do because although a couple of people have said to me, just take the air out and you can bend the tyre out of the way to swap the valve. I kind of want to do a full strip down, clean, retape it, put a new valve on, put it back together. I've got the fluid, put the fluid in. The only thing I think we'll have to use your compressor to get the air in at the right. Quick enough to do it, to get the seal right. But I kind of want to do it properly, do the full thing, and I just don't have time to do that yet.
Okay. I was thinking then whether you'd use fluid or whether you could use like COVID vaccine. So you'd always have some in your tyres. Be quite handy. And you also talk about a new rear derailleur or cleaning the derailleur.
Yes. So at the moment, the one I've got is, we'll see how it goes because I've done a massive job on it. I've repacked grease on all the bearings. They're not, I wouldn't say they're free flowing, but they're definitely cleaner and working better than they were. So we'll see. I will probably need to get a new one at some point. I have landed on it a few times, so I'm surprised it's lasted so long.
Yeah, me too, because I think on both my bikes they've had new hangers and new. One of them's had 3 rear derailleurs, I think, by now. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see when you next take the bike out as to how much different you think it is.
Yeah, I tried. I did the old trick of when you put the link back together on the chain, you connect it up loose, and if there's any bike mechanics listening, they're probably swearing at me, but basically put the bike back together and then literally gently rode out of the front of the house and then did a stamp on the pedal to tension the chain, which pulled the quick link back together
into the right place.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that's the official way of doing it, but it's always worked for me. Last bike I did that on was a Rally Burner, I think it was, but it works. I say that until it comes off and I go straight over the bars.
Yeah,
we'll report on that in the
those
future.
bars again.
So yeah, so it's gone all right. I'm quite pleased with what I've done. Like I said, I've got to do the tyre. I've got to take the tyres off, retape, put the valves on, and I think that'll be it for a while. I would definitely recommend, though, to anybody with a Turbo Levo, drop the battery out every now and again and clean out the lower half where all the mud collects, because it's horrendous in there.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, my Cannondale is exactly the same. When you do it, when you can eventually take the battery out, it's just rotten.
Yeah.
And the grit that gets in underneath all the mounts for the battery is just awful.
Yeah, I suppose it has to have. I mean, it gets in there because there's gaps, but it has to have the gaps so water can get out. But
Yeah.
I think if it's left there compacted inside, it's not going to do any good either. So definitely, a strip down every now and again.
When are you next going out?
Hopefully soon. I had my COVID jab the first half of this week, which was interesting, and I've been a bit ropey all week because of it. But hopefully this weekend I'll be out.
What jab did you have?
I had the AstraZeneca.
Ah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yes.
I
I don't know why they had to use an elephant gun though, and from 100 yards. They told me to run across the field.
And they just take aim, and as
Yeah.
long as a couple of them get to you, you'll be fine. 2021 e-bikes. EMBN have a video out of new bikes from around the world. I think some observations. One is the average cost seems to be
Going up.
Well, it is. I mean, it's 4,500 of all of them. I think the cheapest was 3,500, but that was a real kind of outlier. It seems to be 4,500 to 7,500, and the 7,500 is a particular brand and that's their starting price is what they looked at. It's just very expensive.
Yeah. I think, but is that because, I mean, they're obviously getting better, and what that should mean is the components get cheaper because they become more, the developments happened and the innovations happened. I suppose there is some innovation still going on, but is it just based on demand? Do you think they're just taking the mickey because they know they'll sell?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's still R&D costs going into it.
Yeah.
Battery tech still seems to be improving. That there are in the lineup that I looked at, there were no 500 watt-hour batteries. They're all 625 and 700s.
Yeah.
There's a smaller 625 than the 500 was, so the tech's becoming smaller and lighter, which we thought would happen. But it's just so expensive.
Incremental updates, but significant hikes in prices is a bit worrying. But yeah.
And it's interesting because if I didn't have one and was just getting into it, the bar to get to buy your first one is just so high now.
Yeah. So I would have liked to see things like the equivalent of a 2018, 2019 Turbo Levo become a base model bike now that and the technology that's in it is a cheaper bike brand has got that now. So, they're like a whatever make bike that's $2,000 is actually the same technology that was in a Turbo Levo from 2018, 2019. That kind of needs to happen, really.
Interesting, but they don't do that, do they? It's literally like anything that's previous year's model's gone.
Yeah.
And you just can't get stock of anything.
And I do think some of it is to do with the fact that there is I can guarantee somewhere in the industry people going, well, they'll pay this much for this type of bike. If we do this, I'm sure they'll pay this much for it. Yeah. So there's got to be some level of that, unfortunately. But the prices are getting a bit crazy. Did you see the news that one of the engineers from Tesla is now working with Bosch to improve e-bike battery performance?
Oh no, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, one of the main battery technology engineers from Tesla's moved to an e-bike specific arm of Bosch.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we won't get to a point where if you turn the air conditioning on your e-bike, then the range goes down by 50%.
or you go into self-drive mode and you can't get off the motorway.
Yeah, that would be quite amusing. Talking of going onto the motorway, since I had mine de-restricted,
Been done for speeding 4 times.
I've not used it once.
Oh, right, okay. That was a good
Well, that's not
investment.
true. I used it
You
once
used it
when
to
I
take
was
the
last
piss out
out
of me.
riding with you.
Yeah.
And then I've not used it again because you see the bars drop and you're like, I'm going a bit too fast now and I'm about to scare myself.
Yeah.
So yes, not a great use. One of the bikes on the EMBN Great Bikes of 2021 was interesting because...
Was it the penny farthing that we've been treating?
No, but actually, weirdly, I was watching YouTube videos the other morning and Switch Bike had their little advert that they put on, and one of them is a penny farthing, so you obviously still can get them.
Yeah. They've been listening to us.
I've forgotten what I was talking about now. A Canyon
Right.
eMTB. Right, you ready?
Yeah.
It's gonna blow your branded eMTB show baseball cap off. It had a yellow frame
Okay.
and, you ready? Yellow sidewall tyres.
Are you trying to say tan is last year and yellow's this year?
No, I'm going to say actually now, I think I'm beginning to like tan. Now I've seen how bad yellow looks. I'll try and find a picture and I'll put a link to it in the show notes or just show it instead of us chatting on YouTube. It's an interesting colour scheme.
I bet. I used to have on tyre colours, I used to have a Klein Attitude Race, which was a really, really high-end... It was an alley frame cross-country mountain bike with Pace magnesium shocks on the front, which were amazing. And it had bright green Michelin cross-country tyres on it. It was a colour combination that you wouldn't ever see anywhere else, apart from one outside a pub on the floor in a pile of sick.
Well, that must be really weird though, because if you're like riding on the grass or something, it's like you've got no tyres, you've just got the spokes digging into the ground.
No, it's not.
Only in my head it was.
Yeah. Go on. So you were going to say. So you think tan's the future now?
No, it made me think that tan isn't as bad. Now I saw what yellow is. Right, so that leads us nice segue onto the Twitter poll we ran, which was, would you have tan or would you keep it black?
Right, so I don't know anything about the results of this, so...
No, you don't. Well, disappointingly, only 2 people voted.
Was that me and you?
It could be me and you, because the results were absolutely 50-50 and a complete tie. So I've run this poll, right? And I'm still none the wiser as to what people think. Am I talking rubbish when I like slightly choke and that little bit of sick comes up when I see a tan sidewall? Or did people do it?
I just thought that was because you were overexerting yourself.
So I might run it again. And if you are listening, then please go and find us on Twitter and go and vote, because I just need to know whether it's me or not me. But it was 50-50. It could have been each of us. And I didn't vote. Did you vote?
No, I didn't vote. Because
if you did vote, then actually the real vote was for the black one, and that won.
I did not vote. It's really interesting, actually. It goes through phases, because there's a lot of bikes in all the 2021 ranges that don't have tans on them now, compared to the 2020s that every other bike that was being advertised in 2020 had tan walls. So I think it's just a trend thing. But I don't go with the trend. I stand out there on my own. I'm proud to wear my tan.
Yeah, I mean, that's why my other bike hasn't been out. I'm too ashamed to use it. I've had to do a protest and rub it on the side of the tyres so that no one can see it.
I don't know where you go with that.
So the other bit that was interesting on the 2021 bikes was the difference in travel.
Yeah.
One of them, I think, was a 70 or 80 mil travel, and then you had another one that was up to kind of 170 mil travel. And there is an interesting video that I haven't watched yet on what's the difference between them and what can you do on some that you can't do on others.
Yeah.
I guess some of it is depending upon how much you want to take into your arms.
Yeah, definitely. But it's interesting as well because another trend that's becoming quite, well, there's definitely some growth in it, is mullets. So there's more bikes now available with a smaller back wheel than front. Santa Cruz, Merida, Marin, they've got one as well.
Yeah.
So there's more of that happening, definitely. There's definitely more cross-country style stuff coming out. So like everything, we talked about the Trek E-Caliber last time, there's more like that coming out. So it's interesting what's going on, but there's definitely some new styles coming out that you wouldn't have thought about, which is interesting.
No new tech. I mean, apart from some of the battery developments, there's
refinements,
very little new tech.
It's refinements on what's already out there, but now they're switching it up by going more mullets, more different geometry, changing a few other bits that wouldn't normally be a focus on a year-by-year change. So it is interesting. Some bloody ugly ones, though, to be honest. Have you seen the Habit Neo 2? What is that all about? It looks wrong. It looks like it's it's just wrong, I'll tell you. Thok TKO1, that's quite nice. Focus Sam 2 is quite nice. There's some really nice stuff going out. But yeah, it's just incredibly expensive. The Thok MiG 2.0 is another interesting one. We need to put a link to that one in the show notes because that bike is insane.
Yeah, there is some very cool stuff. The Habit Neo 2. See, I don't quite know why you'd have that over the Matera.
But Santa Cruz have got some interesting stuff going on. The Heckler's amazing looking bike, but the Bullet looks like it was made out of girders. Somebody's been drinking Iron Brew and then putting a bike together. But it's going to be interesting what comes out in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I think now COVID is starting to, well, certainly for the summer, starting to reduce. It'd be interesting to see what events there are as they try and kind of ramp up sales and what events get put on around Europe.
Yeah, interesting because there's been a load of race series stuff that's been announced for you. That's all in Europe basically, but we'll see what happens with that. It looks quite interesting, some of it. Some e-bike specific races, which are more like an endurance event. They'll be quite good. You just go around it in turbo and not care when you get 2 laps and you'll be done.
Yeah, that sounds like a very good plan. Yeah. I'm trying to find this yellow canyon, but I can't. I'll have to find it on a video somewhere. It's a particularly interesting colour scheme. It says on the Canyon website, due to increased demand, current delivery times are longer than normal. So that's what,
a year,
8 months. It is absolutely crazy. I mean, they are. I mean, no disrespect to the bike manufacturers, they're building a frame, aren't they, and the rest of it's components.
Yeah.
Although that's interesting, the Spectral On has a USB-C charging receptacle above the power button.
I like how they chose the word receptacle there out of all the options.
Power for all your essentials.
Right, I've always wanted to charge an iPad Pro whilst hooning down some trail.
Hooning down yeah, that would be quite interesting. I think they may be getting a bit too far. A friend of ours picked up his Cannondale, I don't know what it was, which is like a commuter bike.
Oh yeah, it's the same as the one we have at home here. Canvas.
I don't think it was a canvas.
No, right, okay.
I have to have a look now. I'm sure it began with a T. Cannondale bikes. Road. I don't know. Electric.
We've talked about how bad the website is before. Will you maybe hear sometime?
We could be. Here it is. It's a Tessero Neo.
Okay. I think that's the next one. Has it got shocks on the front?
It does have shocks on the front, nothing on the rear. and it looks like it could replace Sherpa tensing to take some of the stuff up to the top of Mount Everest. It's got so many rails on the back.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the next one up from the canvas. It's basically the canvas frame with shocks on the front and I think a bit more baggage capability.
It looked quite cool though.
Yeah, definitely an interesting commuter bike.
It kind of had slicks, but not quite. Did have some bits on them. It's the spread that I don't get. You know, it's the variation of models. But then you could say that about cars. You know, gone are the days where you used to have the BMW 3 Series, 5 Series, 3, 5, 6, 7. Now there's all of them, all of the numbers.
Yeah.
It's all far too confusing.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, Canyon Spectral colourway of choice for James this year is going to be yellow walls. Is going to jump the
divide.
Jump the divide. Yeah.
If I could change, well, no, I'm not going to. I'm not even going to talk about changing bikes. I would change my eMTB to one that had a carbon frame rather than what it has in order to try and shed some of that weight. But you know what? It's not, and it only becomes really difficult when I seem to run out of power, and then it is literally like moving farm machinery around.
It's like trying to drive a plough.
And maybe that is just because I am massively unfit, but the moment it disappears off, you're like, yeah.
To be honest, mine's, I think the Levo is a bit lighter than yours. Not a lot. I think it's a bit, but even that's still a heavy bike. I mean, trying to put it on that bike stand, I looked like I was giving birth to a bowling ball.
Yeah.
It's not easy. They are still a heavy machine.
So I think that's what I would change. And actually, when we're talking about the cost of bikes rising, the new ones they're all carbon front ends and carbon frames anyway now. So that's probably cheap. You know,
another advancement, and the standard equipment's going up in spec.
Yeah, therefore the cost is going up.
Yeah.
So yes, all exciting things to come.
Yeah. It is interesting. I think I will definitely have to get a good few more years out of my bike. I'm still waiting for this specialised software update to be released that then allows you to do the actual bike updates yourself, which is supposed to be happening.
Is it one that has to be done at the shop before you can do your own?
Yeah, I don't know. I was reading on eMTB forum the other day. Somebody was saying they think it has to be unlocked to be able to then allow it to happen. But I can't understand why would they release it and then make it difficult to apply it. So I don't know. It could all be absolute rubbish, to be honest. But it'd be great if we can.
Has anybody got it yet?
Apparently there was beta stuff available.
Right.
Somebody was actually talking about it and they had screenshots. But it could have been a leak that wasn't supposed to be leaked. Yeah,
maybe. I think I am looking forward to going out on mine. I haven't been out for a few weeks on it, so I am looking forward to that. I was going to say it's already charged, but it's probably decreased in charge, and I suspect
tyre pressures,
as with all tubeless tyres, that the pressure would have reduced dramatically. So that will all need checked.
And you still need to get yourself into a situation where you need to use your BAM.
Bam, and the air is gone.
I kind of think we need to know that stuff actually works to be able to trust that it's the only thing you need to carry. So we need to create a situation.
Cool. What? Just like shred a
tyre. Next time we're out, I'll slash a tyre.
That's evil laugh. Yeah, maybe not able to join you on that trick. But I think that probably draws us to a close of this episode.
Yeah, I think so.
On YouTube, for those of you, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be notified when we release another one. Now the weather is improving, then I suspect we'll be out more and doing more things with the bikes, and we'll put some more content onto Instagram and Twitter. Look out, please, for the next poll that we run to choose colours, because
James is obsessed with getting a straight answer.
I need your help. Well, it's a straight answer, and it's the answer that I would like to see. I don't know whether there's
only one answer that James wants to see.
But, these things, honesty is always really important. If you want to email us or get in touch, then podcast at the eMTBshow.com, or Twitter or Instagram at the eMTB show, or join our Strava group.
Yes, definitely.
Which is called
Jersey eMTBs. We'll keep a link in the show notes. It's actually really interesting seeing what people are doing on their bikes on there. I think that might be one of the places that we do a giveaway from, to be honest. So we might do something around a distance challenge or a
very cool
climb challenge or something. And then keep your eye out for these.
The merch, a climbing challenge. We're never going to win that, are we? I suppose we won't be able to enter to win our own merch.
We can't. Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Well, worth a try.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, and we'll speak to you on the next episode.
Yep. Speak soon. Bye.